Wow, I'm such in awe and honor of this award, more so because it wasn't something that I actually sought after. This is an initiative that's actually written on my heart growing up from Compton, California. I'd like to thank the Brady Center for this honor, for this achievement for me. I'd like to thank ESPN and CAA, my agency, for the platform and opportunity to have this voice, to have this opportunity for people to hear something that is so valuable, something so great. And the reason it's so dear to my heart is just because of where I'm from. You know, as I share the stage with the chief, you know, Charlie Beck, and all the officers, and I commend you guys for your work. Growing up in Compton, California, I know some of the stereotypes. I know some of the negativity that is given towards the police officers from our community, but I'm one of the guys who made it out, and I just want to commend you guys on all your work in protecting those same streets that I grew up in. So I really like to thank you guys. You never know the ingredients of a person, never know the ingredients to someone's success. And I'm very blessed to be here, 34 years young, had a 10-year career in the NFL that was God's blessing. Before that, you know, being afforded an opportunity to go to a great university, at Columbia University, to become an Ivy League graduate. But what's more important than that is the way that I became Marcellus Wiley standing in front of you today. And that was from a humble beginning. That was from a place in Compton, California that you talk about the negativity, the ills of a community, the adversity of the poverty, the gangs. And one of the worst things was the fact that these people in my community really had bad self-image. You know, the images were very negative. Everyone thought, especially the youth running around the streets, was the only way out was athletics or entertainment. But the hurdles that you had to overcome to even get to that point were the gangs, were the fact that seriously being preoccupied mentally that if I live to 18 years old, what will I become? You know, people always say, you know, what do you want to do when you get older? But I think one of our first thoughts was actually, if I become 18 years old, if I become an older person. And I remember my first image of a gun was not actually on television. It was actually at home. It was my first image at 6 years young, being in my grandmother's living room and hearing a shot. And I heard the shot, she heard the shot, everyone in the house heard the shot. And unfortunately, gunshots in that neighborhood wasn't something to call the police for. It wasn't something to call the police because it happened. And this shot was different than other shots, kind of because of the proximity of it, but also because of the victim in this situation. After that gunshot, about an hour goes by, and all of a sudden, people just frantically started running into our front yard. And I remember my grandmother telling us to go to the back room, to stay in the room and not to come out, and just hearing a lot of tears and a lot of emotions coming from the front yard. Finally getting out of the front, into the front, and seeing my grandmother distraught, my family distraught, to find out that I had just lost my uncle to a suicide. Now, 6 years old, as you're trying to form your identity, you know, I'm just starting to think about athletics. You know, I'm thinking about being on the track team. I'm thinking about being on the football team. And I'm in school, you know, first grader, and doing well in school, but trying to figure out, how am I going to go from here to where I want to be? And my first image of gun violence was actually personal to my heart. And it wasn't a table discussion. It wasn't a dinner time discussion. This wasn't something that after this event, after this moment, did our family huddle up and discuss the effects that it had on everyone in that family, from elder to youth. It wasn't. Because it became a part of the fabric of that community. It became part of the diet of which we live day to day. Very unfortunate, because my next issue with gun violence, as I went from trying to become a survivor in a family of a suicide, was to actually witness gun violence, as I spoke of in the video, in more of a social aspect, more of a social tool, more of a guy who's just carrying a gun and holding a gun just for the bravado, just for the fact that I have a gun and I'm going to protect myself. This is going to be my peace. This is going to be my ammunition of security. I'm 8 years old, and I'm watching the 1985 Chicago Bears play in the Super Bowl. I heard a couple guns. Clap it up. One of the best teams ever. I understand. And it was a blowout game. I think they were playing New England at the time. It was 44 to -5 or something. I mean, New England didn't even score. They had to give them points. And I was over a guy's house, one of my teammates in Pop Warner, by the name of James Gray, and he had this cousin that had this infamous reputation in the neighborhood of being this big-time blood. And I was always scared to go around his cousin because I had heard the war stories. I was scared to go over his house just because I knew of the retaliation. And I'm 8 years old, already knowing these tricks and tactics and this warfare. It's unfortunate. And I remember sitting on his bed, me and my friend, 8 years old, both of us. And here comes his cousin in the house. Now, his cousin comes in the house. Look at the imagery here, with a black trench coat, and runs in the house, and all I hear is, oh man, this fool, I'm gonna get this fool. And he opens up his trench coat. I'm 8 years old watching a blowout Super Bowl, and all of a sudden this guy opens up his trench coat, and he throws out a shotgun on the bed where I'm sitting at, and like 2 handguns. So he throws the guns on the bed, and we're shaking, we're running around like, what's going on? And then he takes off outside the house. So we go to the window, and we're looking out the window and saying, what's going on? He leaves the guns here, and he takes off running out in front. And then he commences with a bunch of his other blood friends, these gangsters, to fighting this one guy. It's like 6-on-1, and they're fighting. After that, they come in the house and continue to watch the game like nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. And I'm sitting there 8 years old. Once again, how do you digest this? You know, it wasn't a situation where gun violence was used, but at the same time, the imagery, the fact that an option, a young child who is now seeing this guns as a tool, as an option. Going to school in inner Los Angeles, dealing with gangs, dealing with the warfare, knowing about what could happen, you know, was very unfortunate because it became one of the landmines in which you had to navigate around. You know, before you go to practice, you had to think about, okay, all right, is anybody coming up to school today to have a fight? Anyone come up to school today to necessarily hurt somebody? I remember playing one game at Manual Arts High School, right there by USC, you know, a school that when we played against them had a reputation. They hated our school. They hated our school to the point where gun violence was a part of some of the athletic events. And I remember our warm-ups in 9th grade. We're doing jumping jacks, just doing warm-ups, normal warm-ups, and there was an apartment building right across the street from the practice field. And as we're doing warm-ups, all of a sudden we heard gunshots. Everyone hits the deck. We're used to hearing gunshots, but we hit the deck, we know what to do, we know the drill. But we're in an open field, we're in an open football field, the entire team, both teams, on the ground. But these gunshots weren't in the air. Because as we're laying on the ground, we're looking around like, what's going on? You see dirt moving, bullets actually hitting the actual field. No one was hit, but actual bullets hitting the football field. And I remember after 10, 15 minutes where we're laying there, they stopped the shooting from that apartment building across the street. We lined up on the other sides, and we actually played that game. And I've been through situations where there have been injuries. You know, a guy tear up his knee, move the game forward, keep playing. You know, a guy tear up his knee in practice, keep it going. Once again, not told how to digest this at a young age. So when you see that video and you see a guy who's 21 years old, from a situation, from a community like Compton, like where I grew up, and now I get a check from an owner of the Buffalo Bills for more money than my family has ever seen in their life, cumulatively, total, times 10. What do I do? You know, what do I do? one of the options, unfortunately, for me, because of some of these ingredients, some of the same diet that I grew up on, was to protect myself. How do you protect yourself? Do I call the police force and say, travel with me? Do I hire a private security guard? No, that won't work. You know, I've seen private security guards, they have to go to sleep. They have to go off duty, you know. I need something with me 24/7 to help me out, protect me just in case. And I actually went to the store with one of my friends who had just been carjacked at a gas station. He worked at FedEx. And this is what he told me after he was carjacked. And he's like, man, what you gonna do? You just got drafted to the Buffalo Bills. You know, I said, I'm excited. Bruce Smith's up there. I'm gonna learn how to play. You know, I'm talking X's and O's in football. He said, nah, not what you gonna do like that. What you gonna do, man? You got all this money. What kind of car you gonna get? You know, how you gonna protect yourself? You know, what you gonna do? You gonna be away from home? And it made me think. That made me choose to get a gun. And I got this little gun, this little 380 gun, this small little gun. And they even sold a wallet with it. And you put the gun into the wallet, and it looks like, to the casual eye, a wallet in your pocket. And I remember taking this gun illegally to practice, walking past the sign that says, do not take firearms on the premises, walking right past it. I remember taking the same gun to the nightclubs, to the restaurants where I would go eat. I remember all these situations, not to be a villain, but just really, in a warped sense of mind and identity, trying to protect myself from some of those images that I saw growing up. And I'm 21 years old, I have a lot of money in one pocket and a gun in another pocket, and I'm saying, please leave me alone. And the fear and the paranoia that ensued from that choice that I made me look at every single person differently. Like I said, someone wanted an autograph at a nightclub while they're taking that 10-second walk to come up to me, and I don't know who you are, with that gun, made me put my hands down, made me put my hands in my pocket, made me massage that gun just to see what the situation was. And that replayed over and over and over again, to the point where I didn't know the statistics, but I just knew that I was going to end up hurting myself or someone I loved before I was going to ever be in a situation where I needed to protect myself. So I got rid of that gun. I got rid of that gun because I wanted that peace of mind. And that peace of mind never, ever came from me holding that gun, as I thought it would. So when I stand here now and have the opportunities and the platform, it's not with anyone's pushing, anyone's suggestion that I speak out for this cause and will be a strong proponent for the Brady Center, just because I saw too many people, too many innocent people, too many talented people, too many human lives lost because of that choice, because of that same option of a gun. So thank you guys for being in this room in support of this, and let's continue the efforts. Thanks.